On episode 6 of the daily watch Matt work for 13 hours a day live stream series. So if you're watching on Kick or YouTube or where are we? Kick, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter right now. Appreciate you. And if you're not, kind of new to this, I'm creating a new piece of art every single day. There's a 30 pieces that are going to be created in the month of November. Each one uses real world data, and I'm telling a bit of a story, which I like to sort of let you guys just sort of figure out on your own. But I talk about it from time to time on the stream. So if you don't want that to be a spoiler for you, don't listen. So we're on number 6 right now. We're a day behind, but we're catching up. And this concept is something I've had in my, an idea from the beginning. I was just waiting for the right time to do it. It has the potential of being a really cool, high impact piece in a short amount of time. And it has the potential of driving me crazy. So fingers crossed that this is going to work, because I could use a quick win, something that looks really awesome, that doesn't take me, multiple days to do to get back on track. I'll give you guys a quick update on the last one, because I did actually stop streaming near the end, just because it was very... I'll show you. It's very complicated and very hard for me to do it while people are watching. I don't like to do that, obviously. I'm trying not to do that, but I was needed to kind of get my head down and get it done. But I'll show you what I did. I also did some stuff in DaVinci Resolve from a video editing standpoint, which, unfortunately I didn't get that on the stream, but really it was just speed ramping. I can show it. It's just speed ramping the clips like up and down, adding music, just making it a little bit more interactive. We also learned about render farms. Not that I didn't know. I knew about render farms before, but I had issues rendering stuff with them. Just didn't render properly. So I kind of avoided it. But I actually decided to go back and do it for this project, because it was projecting to take, I think it was something like 28 hours to render this. So I dropped down the resolution, which I didn't want to do, but I did. And then I rendered it out with a render farm. The one I used, just making sure my shirt's not on backwards. Wouldn't be the first time. No, it's not. It's just the hoodie is like this. What were we talking about? First time? Oh, shirt. Yeah. So with the render farm, what was very cool, I used, what did I use? Render Street, which, I don't know if there's better options. It was super simple. Really liked it. No complaints. Cost me, I think, $30 to render it, which is, when you pre-sell these pieces, it's actually really nice. It kind of makes me go, okay, like this is worth doing. But this is what I rendered. It was 1,200 frames, and this is the keyframes. So if you've never worked with keyframes before, have fun. Basically how this works is every keyframe represents movement. And in fact, these are just the summary keyframes. The way that Blender does it is each one individually, you can pick, like, let's say this Soul Vault, you can look at different actions. And in this case, it's an object transform, and there's X, Y, and Z. So those were the keyframes. For some of these, like say a camera controller, there's X, Y, Z location plus rotation and scale. For something like, let's say, these callouts, it is just simply transparency, or it's like the animation of whether these callout things are on or off. I'll show you that in a second. And then some of them, there's like combination of like different shaders that turn on and off and things that move. So it gets very complicated. And this is basically how it looks. So each one of these is a start, stop. The ones that have the lines, like the gray, is where keyframe doesn't change. So you know that from like, say, here to here, nothing changes about the cam controller. If you scroll down, all of the location data. So this is like a pause in the animation. The pause is right here. And then it animates from there to there. It's a little counterintuitive, but that's the way Blender works. So I'll show you how this kind of looks. So what we did, we go all the way back to the beginning, and we show you this over here. So This is the animation minus the text, which I kind of added at the end. But if you take a peek at this, I'll just play it through. This is what actually is happening, and these keyframes are what's controlling all this movement. So if I hit play, you can kind of watch this happen. Nothing happens at the beginning, and then all of a sudden, boom, this thing lifts up. And this is sort of on the left side exactly what's happening. The right side is just like a different view. Kind of show you. Here, let's go back and I'll do this. All I'll do is I'll show you guys from here. So this is the camera, okay? So the camera is there. So you can kind of see it from this view here, and then this is the camera view. So camera, and then this is the camera view. So here we go. So you can watch what happens. Nothing. All of a sudden, here we go. So it moves up. Camera zooms out. It separates. Camera zooms all the way around. And then it starts to go and pan up all these spots, and those little call-outs start to come out. So all this is being driven by the keyframes. And if you're a video editor, like I was, well, I guess still am, but was doing it professionally part-time, you know all this stuff and keyframing and, adding nice smooth transitions. So it all comes in very handy. And there it goes. Now, if you want to see what that looks like with, I really wish I did. I can't play audio. I haven't figured it out. If something broke. So I won't play this, but it just so you can see how this looks with a little bit of color. So there was some text. I don't know why that's not showing up. I don't know. Maybe not this one. Maybe with these ones. I don't know. Well, we'll find the text. But yeah, over here you can watch this. It's going to be a little bit slow because it's trying to render it. But now what happens, the lights turn on. Same idea, it goes up. Camera goes, you can see now the whole thing. Camera moves down to this part, call out comes out. Up to this, call out comes out. Up to here, call out. Down here. And this part I'm really proud of because watch what happens here. I really like this. So after this piece, this is like it's called the quantum neural processor, was what we called it anyway. So it's the CPU. And then watch what happens here. So this little thing tilts up. And if you saw previous streams, I showed this tilting. So this thing tilts up and then it starts to do this like nice little animation where it slides to the left. So it rotates as it goes out. And then once it gets out here, it rotates back. And that was really fun because you kind of think of like the movement of it going up and then what would it need to do to go that way? Well, the momentum, first the bottom has to come up and then either the top tilts usually or usually it's like whichever, something is going to kind of like follow, like lead and follow. So you sort of get that tilt and then it slides to left. So you sort of like think of those natural movements of how something would move across a room or, in no gravity. It's another way to think about it. And then you sort of animate it. And then this thing spins. You can see it spinning. And then it goes all the way down. Everything comes back together. And then it pauses. And then the lights come on. So this was the whole thing. So in the last episode, which is why it took 2 days, just under 2 days, I modeled everything inside of this. So we modeled together. We had the outside lid. We had the shell. And we had this. So we modeled this, the projector, the CPU, this thing, and then we put it all together and we animated it and moved the camera and added music, and it was a big one. So, but it's done. That's a core component of the story, which is this device that can kind of collect and capture your digital memories and, kind of everything that makes up a human and can be preserved for 10,000 years. If we get blown up and, we blow ourselves up, some future civilization would discover it and realize that, humans have been here before, which we probably have. So that's that. It's done. It's out there. It's very available for mint. All the links are on my social media. Twitter is the best place to go if you're interested. But we're going to work on the next piece. And I'm going to try something that probably I'll regret, which is kind of what always happens with me. But there's a new version of Blender coming out. And honestly, I thought it was coming out today. And I had planned for this piece, gotta be careful with this drive. I planned for this piece to be made with a new version of Blender because I thought it was out today, the 8th. And I thought, okay, this will be fun. I will use this because this piece is perfect for what a particular feature of this software, the new 4.0 version. Yeah, I was just kind of like, hey, this would be perfect. I'm just going to see if I can adjust the brightness of this. What are we on for ISO? I think that should be a little bit better. Hopefully that works. Yeah, I thought, hey, this might be cool. I don't know. We'll see if it is or not, if it breaks. So what the kind of the rule here, which we're going to, I think, run, is we are going to use it unless we run into some type of technical issue. And in that case, if we do, we are going to abandon it and go to something else. Also behind me, the Raptors are playing. And I'm in that early season with the Raptors where I actually care because, they haven't blown it yet. Let's see, settings, Blender. There we go. There's my UI. So if this game gets super close, they're up by 13 right now. So it might be okay. And I also got to take Alpine out. She's getting mad at me. So we may end up... Alpine, my dog, Alpine, is very emotional. I think she's mad at me right now. I don't know why she's mad at me. She's been protesting for 2 days, sleeping in the spare bedroom. And she just walked out, I think, to get water. And I looked at her just to see what she was doing. And she looked at me and then turned around like a angry couple, see someone and then you turn and walk away. That's what she's doing. So I don't know. Alpine's mad. I can't think of why. We just went out for a run today. She's annoyed. Okay, so we're going to try this. So I've also, as many of you have seen, I've really been trying to use as many kind of tools and experiments as I can. And one of the ones that I've, really been using a lot, and there's been some cool improvements while I've been working, is ChatGPT, which, I've used many times before and often use for my work in some capacity, just usually not, specifically generating, the actual art. I'll use it for little aspects of it, different components. But I asked it way back when I was planning the project. I would kind of ask it for ideas, and I would ask, expand and just sort of walk through some stuff together like an assistant. And one of the ideas that it had, I think, I can't remember if it was my idea or its idea, but is this idea of synthetic DNA. So if you remember that little canister that I was just animating, inside of it, there's a projector. And the idea is that, this synthetic DNA is essentially an idea being a breakthrough of how we could potentially store exponentially more data by kind of writing it into a DNA sequence. And there's research on this. I've watched YouTube videos. I kind of understand it, but not completely. But I think the visualization is really cool. So the goal today is to make a synthetic DNA visualization, kind of interpretation with geometry nodes in Blender. That's the goal. And I've used geometry nodes a few times before. I can't say that I am an expert in it by any means. So this will sort of be a little bit of trial and error as we go. But hopefully it's going to work pretty well. Okay, so we're going to start, as I kind of always start with a fresh project, is reference images. So those that are familiar, what this is. Those are not, you're probably like, what the heck? This is PureRef. PureRef is, I think, the best. I mean, it's a beautiful tool for visually organizing a mood board or reference images. So I'm going to start by going through some of the ones that I think I generated previously, and I'll start to pull those in, and you guys will see those pop in as we go. So I'm just kind of going through Midjourney and other places because I had some really cool kind of DNA related images. I'm just going to kind of generate some of my favorites. They're coming in now. I did this quite a while back. This one is cool. So I'll give you an example. This is the inner thing, so this is a good one to start with. It's coming in now, hopefully. Come on. This is a big image. I did an upscale in 4 times upscale in Discord, which is or in Midjourney, which is working really well. Look at that. It's pretty cool, right? So this is kind of the concept. There's lots of kind of cool versions of this. Let's see if these, there it goes. So, oh no, I guess I have to open a browser. So here's another one. And actually I should set a good example. When it comes to Pure Ref, you don't actually have to kind of organize it. So the key is just get your images in. I'll show you in a second. Just looking for some cool, this is kind of neat. Just looking for the best one. This is actually more realistic to what I was looking for. This one's a good one. These are really, really good. Just bear with me as I bring some of these in. More examples. Those are pretty similar. These are all similar. This one's kind of cool. Upscale one. Okay, I think that's it. Okay, so this one is another cool one. Discord. I tell you, it's really, I don't know why you can't just like save these things directly from Discord. You seem to have to open them up in a browser. Some of these are really, really cool. And we'll just look at them in a second. The detail in these are incredible. So, like, as I'm bringing these in, people might say, why don't you just use Midjourney? Why don't you just use AI? Because it can generate like pretty incredible stuff that's very hard for me to replicate. And the answer to that is, well, one, like, you don't learn anything, right? So again, I'm not a negative on AI. I am very much, I feel the same way about AI as I feel about sky replace in Photoshop. It's like, I've had this conversation with photographers. And I've done landscape photography for, 5 years, which is not a huge amount of time, but it's enough to learn enough. And I've sold a bunch of my photos, so I'm not like completely clueless in this world. But there are photographers who go out, they take a beautiful shot of a location and the sky sucks. Like, it was a cloudy day and it doesn't look very good. And they go home and they go into Photoshop and they sky replace it. And in my opinion, that's lazy. And there are photographers that will go out to the same place every single day for weeks until they get the shot that they want. And if you're simply doing that And people don't realize you're doing that. Maybe you're not forthcoming or open about it. It's just sort of like, I'm covering up something that I didn't do properly. I'm against that. But, real composite photographers who take the time to kind of build a scene out from multiple images, it's a whole different game. It's a different genre, I think, and it's sort of its own thing, and there's nothing wrong with it. I feel the same way about AI. I know like people that are experimenting with AI and training models and photoshopping AI into their images and doing composites and all sorts of fun stuff. Nothing wrong with it at all. But I also know people that just generate images and like try to sell them as art that, couldn't do that on their own. And I just don't think there's as much value in that as there is, somebody who actually could create that or creates that from scratch. Now, the second reason, and I think the bigger reason why I do it, is because everything that I make, I have a vision that it will become a living asset that I will, essentially, I'll use in some aspect of my artistic career, personal life. I have a pretty clear vision for what that will be and what that will look like, but it gets a little bit crazy and sci-fi, and I don't want to kind of scare people. But the point is that I want the 3D asset. So for me, when I'm done, if I have a 3D asset, I can reuse it in this project and other projects. And I have some really interesting plans for all those 3D objects in the future. So for me, it's like, hey, I can take a shortcut and I could just, honestly, I could probably mint one of these and not tell anyone. And people would be like, wow, this is really nice. But, what does it get us, right? We don't learn anything. I created those in 5 minutes. But what I really love to do is I really love to use it as concept art. I really love to use it as references and things that can kind of get my brain going. So there's a couple things that we're going to do. Just from a pure reference standpoint, I think that there's a combination here of things that I want to integrate. So one is it's going to go inside of this jar, which we already have built. We modeled that in the previous episode. So we have, going back to what I was talking about, we have a canister, a projector. And you can even see these are kind of showing at the bottom a lot of times some type of a projection system. And that's what we built. This one is a good example. We use this one as our reference for when we were modeling this inner piece. This actual image was the reference. It looks very similar. I kind of modeled all these little edges the same way. And we'll bring it in and show you. So think this is our kind of our top image in terms of what the canister will look like, which is done, but it'll be inside. Now, these ones, what I think these ones did, which I really was looking for, is see how they're kind of generating, looks like little lines of code or numbers. Because what I've been asking when I do this is this to be synthetic DNA, and I've been asking it to kind of generate stuff like out of binary, like combine organic, the DNA structure, which is organic, with the kind of computer structure, which is binary. So you kind of see in these ones, we really get these kind of cool number patterns. The backgrounds are kind of similar. They've got kind of the blurred blue background. These ones are hyper, color scheme wise. Like this one's really cool. It's kind of fracturing across the piece. There's sort of like this cool, components of it kind of coming from the sky, like matrix style. This one as well has a more traditional double helix structure. Now these ones though, for example, I really like, I think this is probably my favorite in terms of detail. Like the detail of this feels very organic, almost as if like this membrane stretching as it goes across this. And the background with the bokeh and the colors is really, really sharp. So I would say from a color standpoint and just like a composition standpoint, this is my favorite. There's aspects of all these ones that I really like, but I think if we took this sort of style mixed with more digital components, maybe the background has a bit more blue with these like lines, or maybe, we just incorporate this sort of like pattern into the image, we're probably got something cool. So if I had to pick, I would probably say, here, here. Maybe here. Something like that. Okay, so here, if we had to pick a reference, it's probably these three. Raptors look like they're going to pull this one off, which is good. Back to 500. Okay, and we also have a name for this, by the way, More Human Than Human, which was from Blade Runner, if you guys remember. The motto of, what was the company called in Blade Runner? That's what this is. So, concept-wise, I buy this device. It's called a Soul Vault. I get it, my door. I pair it with my data. I upload and honestly, like this is a sci-fi idea, but it's like I think it's a really good idea. It's just not probably technically feasible, right? Like I have an archive of everything, right? So I have all of my messages, all of my photos, all of my memories, everything. Now, would I want, like, if something happened to me, would I want that just to be like available for anyone to go through? Probably not, right? Like nobody probably really wants like all of their personal life to sort of expose when they pass away. But what about like in 1,000 years? Like, would you care? I was thinking about that. I was like, I don't know if I would care. Like, how do we know what society would be? How do we know, like, what would you care? So, imagine with this device. Let me see if I can just fix this a little bit. That's a little better. So, like, imagine with this device that you could set an unlock period of like 1,000 years, right? And the device basically stays unpowered. It's super like protecting against all the elements, blah, blah, blah. And then eventually in 1,000 years, it unlocks. And anyone who picks it up can open it up and do it. So it's like, okay, we would want to upload all of our photos and our videos and like anything we've created, our art, our, whatever we want to put in there. Plus we would take a DNA sample and it would then store that DNA sample. And again, based on where the technology is, at least that DNA would be preserved in there. And then, yeah, yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Blue Reap, I was thinking the same thing. Yeah, clear the browser. That's one of the options, clear my browser history. Or like, AI, use AI to clean my browser history to be like a better representation of who I want to be as a human. But yeah, you could do that, have all this stuff and then, you archive it and, you could keep it on your desk or you could pay for storage. Or if you had money, you could ship them to different places around the world. So there's like a higher probability of them survive, whatever you want to do. I think this is like an idea. I think this actually could work. I just don't think the product that I created, obviously, it's like, uses like plutonium to power it. It's crazy. But the idea of synthetic DNA is real, and that's actually something people are working on, and the idea of it is really interesting. So with all that being said, we're going to kind of figure this out together, and we're going to try to make this animation. And I already know how I want this to look because I kind of want there to be an animation back here, but I really want the camera to come right in and follow the strand. So to be almost like a macro shot. So this is the idea. So the other thing now I want to get, so this is kind of our cool, this is our cool mid-journey stuff. And we can just kind of merge. Oh, by the way, I just have keyboard shortcuts in here just to kind of bring these all together. Now I want to get some real images of DNA. Like not of actual DNA, but like of the real DNA strand. Just so we can kind of understand exactly what's going on. So the double helix, here's some images. We're just kind of bringing in anything that's sort of kind of representative. That's obviously a 3D render. So this is an interesting 3D render, which I think was kind of fits what I want to do with geometry nodes. So like, see how in this one, each of these little components is made up of these little spheres. This is really easy to do with geometry nodes, like super easy. Like we can make the structure, we can replace the structure with anything. So what I want to do is, instead of replacing it with spheres, I want to replace it with numbers. And one of the ideas I had was to get numbers of like a binary sequence from like basically the human genome. And I looked it up. It's a crazy amount. We'd have to kind of abstract it, but like there's a way technically to convert from, well, to represent DNA, which is these things, like these, the ATGC. This sequence of like how these combine, I guess, is what makes up this unique DNA strand. So just like think very similar to binary. It's like four values instead of, the binary ones or zeros. So you could do like binary pairs, essentially, I think it's called. So like you would have like a 0 1 0 0 1 1 1 0 0 1 1 0 1 1. Yeah. So you would have those combinations represent the different combinations of these four things. So then you convert it, and then you get like a number string. And that number string would represent something from like the human genome. That's kind of what we want to do. And then it would be kind of, those numbers would make up this, and they could make up either, the side beams or the structure. Okay, so I wanted to also get something about synthetic DNA. I just want to see if there's any good visuals, because synthetic DNA, oddly enough, is made the same way they make CMOS sensors in cameras, which I thought was really funny. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, so there you go. There's kind of here's kind of a fun, like, version of it. Oh, you guys can't really see this. Well, I'm going to copy this one. It's kind of cool. Right? So, see that now? So, like, you have all the numbers, binary here, making up 10-point lead, 3 minutes in basketball. Yeah, so I kind of have, I agree. It's really pretty, right? So I think like something like this, but with more chaos to it, if you want to call it that, like more randomness. This is like a little bit too feels like too, what's the word? Organized. Whereas, we looked at some of these things. I like the kind of the more chaos of it, but that's fine. We can do that in geometry nodes. So maybe, we don't go too crazy, but I was just looking, I wanted to kind of understand a little bit more about this. So I'll give you an idea. I'll show you something kind of cool. So I was kind of coming up with names. Is chaos more natural or opposite? I thought chaos was opposite of natural. Shouldn't chaos mean like more random or unpredictable? I could be wrong. So I summarized, I've been talking to ChatGPT for a while on this, and I summarized previous conversations because it runs out of memory. So this is what I've done, and it's kind of given me some steps to take. And then I was asking for movie quotes too regarding DNA, and that's where we came up with this More Human Than Human from Blade Runner, which was one of my favorite movies. I forgot about that quote. Like even this one here. This one's kind of cool. Right. Anyway, so you can hear, like, here's a fun example, because now ChatGPT has everything built in. So like you can kind of upload images, you can ask it to create images, you can ask it to read websites. So you can say like summarize this. I think you can. Not this. So I created, okay, let's try this, summarize this. See what it gets. So it's going to go out and read this article. It's going to come back to us with a summary. And like the cool thing is you can ask it like, you know, does this have any impact on, like, does this bring up any ideas for this project? That's what makes it so cool when you can combine this all together. So it's saying like DNA's potential to store all the world's data in a shoebox. I mean, there you go. I mean, that's basically the concept that we just been talking about, right? It's just not a shoebox. It's a tube. And by the way, check this out. People have been buying these new Meta glasses. I don't know if you've seen these, but I have the original. So check this out. This is the original Meta sunglasses that everyone's buying. These are the Snapchat spectacles, which I bought like probably 5 years ago. So I don't know what the camera is in these, but I have all the charging stuff. I haven't used them, so I don't know if I want to work, in this the whole time. But one of these days I'm going to fire this up. The only issue with these was they used to only work with Snapchat. But it was one thing was really cool is it would have this like, it would record. It records in a circle, like the sensor's like a perfect circle. So when you're watching it, you could turn your camera and it would work from either direction. Anyway, the point of that was that this container was like a bit of inspiration for this thing. So it's just about the size that I pictured. It's like looks like what a tennis ball comes in, just a little bigger. And there's the concept. So not a shoebox, but a little bit smaller. But yeah, all of the world's data stored in a shoebox is kind of what we're doing. I think she's going to go out. I'll take her now. And plus like all the data for a single human. Saying it's impractical. That's fine. We don't care. So I can just ask, does this give any ideas for our project? This is what's really beautiful about ChatGPT is we can kind of, just it understands that context. Yeah, so it doesn't like know because I didn't tell it about my already idea. Could you recommend a specific part of the human genome or DNA that could be encoded to binary to use in this animation, and then provide some steps? Be as detailed as needed. I know I spelled that wrong, but it's smart enough to know. Okay, so I'm going to run that. I'm going to take a quick 10-minute break. No, I don't think GPT is free. I don't remember. I don't think it is. It used to be. There's a trial. I think now it's paid. I think Midjourney and GPT are not. But man, I don't know. The things you spend money on a month to get like image creation, data analysis, code writing, research, like if you're any way of making money, like from working online or whatever, and you're not doing it, I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me. It seems like it's like a no-brainer, but that's just me. Okay, I'll put my spectacles back. Okay, so give me 10 minutes. I gotta take the pup out for a quick walk, and then look how good this was, by the way. I'm gonna fire these up next couple of days. The case had a little charging case in it, so you could put it in, and then the case charged up, and then discharged the glasses. 2 cameras. Oh no, 1 camera. Cool little tech. I'll fire this up at some point. Let's see how it goes. Okay, guys, I'll be back in 10. Okay, I'm back. Oh, hey, Ian. Hey. I don't know if I lost Blue Reap. You still here? Thanks for subscribing on Twitch. I have two things I need to do. I'm going to do them really quickly here. I'm going to go to that Be Right Back, and I'm going to add the chat. So just give me a second so I can leave a little message saying how long I'll be so people aren't confused already. I mean, just audio is going to cut for a second. Okay, there we go. So at least when I go, I can check it out. Yeah, thanks for watching that, Ian. I realized, so that project took, I think there's 12 or 13 hours of streams, and I probably take 3 hours today to do the final. Well, no, I probably took four. I might have took another like 6 hours on the animation, and then I did like the audio. Now it was probably a 22-hour project. It's stupid. I should have turned it into two. Should have done a 3D render and then the video, but I'm stupid, and I was just like, I can't like shortcut that. But truthfully, you know, there were some huge aspects of that one, right? Like we did the decals, which I'd never done before. We did like kind of some pretty intricate modeling. And then I did that full animation with like the call outs and everything. So huge, you know, skill set there I picked up. But yeah, a little bit too much, but it's okay. We're going to make up for it. So quick summary, Ian, because you're here. So we're doing the double helix today. We're doing the old DNA sequence. So here's our inspiration. And basically we're going to use geometry nodes in Blender to make this. And I'm going to say this is probably this is our best representation right here. So I would say it's going to obviously go in our canister, which we modeled yesterday. I think this level of detail and this kind of background blur is what I'd like to go for. This sort of abstract light and patterns I really like, and particularly it looks like it's trying to generate code. This is some better ones that kind of show it, but I didn't like them better than that example. And then this I really like because it represents like how you can use geometry nodes to kind of make the DNA out of anything. So really we want to do like numerical numbers potentially. I don't know yet if they're just going to be flat numbers or, you know, 3D numbers. It's ones and zeros, so I kind of want to like do some type of abstract representation of the ones and zeros. I don't know, but we're going to go through this. Okay, so I would say beginner to intermediate at geometry nodes, so this could be another learning one. But I do know a few things. So I'll kind of, I'll explain as I go a little bit. You guys know from previous, I talk to myself a lot. Now there's people here, so I'm talking to you guys. So yeah, geometry nodes, pretty simple. When you click a geometry node, so you go into like any type of geometry node editor, what it typically does is just creates, well, on whatever you have as defaults, like this is the default cube, it creates a little modifier called geometry nodes, and then this little thing opens. So the group input right now is the cube, but you can actually replace it with anything. And what I do, give me 1 second. I got to get rid of this stupid add-on. Hard ops. There we go. I'm using Blender 4.0 beta for this because I want to. There's something called AGX which outputs a higher quality, higher like luminance range on its renders, and I want to use it for this because I think there's going to be a lot of contrast in the scene. So I'm going to try it out. Okay, so what I want here, and I hopefully can do it, is I want to see if there's a search. So give me a second. I want to change our default here. Why can't I ever find this again? I want to change it from search, from play to search. Why? Where is that? I sort of got, like, I swear they just, like, they got rid of it. I'm not even kidding. I just, it somehow, like, disappeared from my, where is it? Oh, yeah. You guys, there's no way you're going to be able to catch, if you guys catch up, I would be impressed. I should hire someone to do the edits, to go through them and take the best clips, because I can't get through them all until the end.
No kidding.
Ian's suggestion to do that at the end, I'm going to take him up on. By the way, Ian, I'm starting to talk to my collectors and see if maybe we can just make them all available all the way through. So, like, you could mint anything all the way.
I mean, no kidding, we'll never catch up.
Yeah, you will catch up. But I'm going to try to do, like, a summary. So I'm going to try to do, like, how it's made at the end. So you'll have probably a bunch of YouTube shorts and what are they called? YouTube shorts and reels. Yeah, I mean, if you want to try it, you know, you could do, well, if you want to try one, I mean, I pay you to do it if you could do it. But the thing is, so you'd have to watch like a whole episode, which sometimes is multiple, and I'd have to come up with like what is the right edit. So there's two styles of it. One would be like a highlight film, like just the most kind of critical pieces, just like a standard edit. And then the other one, which was, you know, probably more effective, would be like a short, you know, so I'd be cutting it vertically and then highlighting like clips out of 60 seconds. And then the reason it might be a little difficult is because I was gonna voice them over. So you'd have to tell me like, okay, send me like, here's the 60-second. I guess you would say, here's like 60-second summary of how you made that. That would be probably the ask, right? Could you cut a 60-second clip in vertical format of how I made that particular piece, and then give it to me, and then I'll voice it over, and then that would be the short. That would be the idea. It's just like, yeah, and I want to do that. It's just, man, I can't. Like back when I was going to do 4 hours a day, I could wrap my head around it. But like asking someone to go through 13 hours of footage, like, and I was like, maybe AI could do it. I don't know. But if someone wants to try, if you can pull one off, do a sample for me, and I'll pay you for the sample, we'll figure something out. And then if it, you know, if you want to do it, it would be super cool. But I'm not going to start like, I can't put it on like Fiverr and be like, hey, can you watch like 14 hours of footage and make a video? Although maybe someone would want to do it. I don't know. Okay, help me figure out why I can't switch the space bar to search. Yeah, and there might be tools, right? Like there might be tools that take a YouTube. That's all on YouTube, right? So there might be a tool that takes a YouTube video now. In fact, ChatGPT might even have it, because I saw a thing about plugins in ChatGPT the other day. And, you know, if you could get something to go and look at the video, I think YouTube auto transcribes. So that might be a cool way to do it. Take the transcription of the entire video, because I do talk through them. So you probably would get pretty good, you know, transcript, and then feed that into AI and ask it to summarize it, and then figure out how to get the timestamp. You know, this is funny. Like 7 years ago, I made an app for Canon with my team. We had a bunch of really smart engineer co-op students at Canon. We made this app before anything, you know, was ever doing this, where what we did was we took the full transcript of YouTube video, we brought it into like a very early kind of AI API that would summarize it, and it would predict what the most important parts were. And then we take that script and we would put it through a browser extension that would then it would auto jump the YouTube. So it would like skip ahead in the YouTube to the specific parts that were the most important. So we tried it with like a 12-minute TED talk and summarize it to like 45 seconds. We had all these ideas, just Canon never got behind them. But yeah, that's a really cool. I think someone could that's maybe a more fun challenge would be, instead of like sitting there and editing a 13-minute video, the challenge would be like, how can you use AI to auto summarize and clip out a 60-second summary of each of my pieces? There's your challenge. Someone does that, I'll pay you. Yeah, I think that's the way to do it. So what was I doing? Sorry, how switch Blender search timeline play to search. It's like supposed to be somewhere in here. I don't know. I'm trying to find this search for geometry nodes. Search shortcut. Because this is how I usually work. Shift A. Okay, so then there it is. This is my little trick. So I always do this in Blender. I just map the search function to the Q key instead of using quick favorites, because you can just do this and search what you want really quickly. Okay, so what we want is a mesh, a primitive mesh. Mesh primitive. I think it's a curved spiral. So if you just put this in here and just bring this over, it just basically, you don't need this. So now you're starting from a curve. Okay, so what we want is, okay, let's grab our double helix. I want some good strands. I think it stays the same the whole way. So start radius and end radius. Let's make this like something reasonable, 0.1. Actually, no, we'll do 1 meter by 1 meter. I think that's going to be fine. And then say the height is 10. So now you got, something that looks like that. And then you can pick how many rotations. So the reason why we use geometry nodes here, it's really cool, is like we can always go back and change these things. So if I realize like, oh, actually my helix is wrong, I needed to do it, a different way, I can change it. And then there's a transform. There's a transform node. I don't remember exactly what it is. It's, I think it's transform geometry. So what you do here is you grab this curve, you connect it. So now it's going to take the data from this, and you connect it to a join geometry. Okay, so now if you think, by the way, Ian, you've probably heard me preach this before. There we go. Drop it in, Adam. If it's like, will it do a long video, like a 7-hour video? Let me know. I'm not going to go click it now because I'll get distracted, but let me know. And if like it costs something, I can like send you some money to try it out. We could see if it works. So yeah, again, geometry nodes are like any node-based programming. Adam knows this from Unreal. Like Unreal blueprints are brilliant. And I think everybody, don't learn code. If you're thinking about learning code, don't do it. I'm telling you right now, trust me. Yeah, or try maybe on like the first, because I think the first ones, some of the earlier ones I did like shorter. So I don't know, try one and see what it does. Code is like don't learn code because here's my pitch. The same reason people don't learn assembly language. It's like you abstract up, and we are slowly abstracting up. And if you know a little bit, one level down of abstraction than the general public, you can be very powerful. So I think today, like the general public is learning, AI and prompts. Like, okay, good luck. If you want to try to be a prompt engineer, like fine, maybe, but like most people can pick that up. It's not like there's no special talent, I don't think, in that. But go one level down abstraction, and you get into one level up from code and one level down from probably like prompt engineering. To me is the idea of like blueprints or geometry nodes or node based anything. Because if you think of like if this then that, you think of Zapier, you think of any type of system where you have to have logic, if this then that. Like literally that's what that program is. It's just a simple version. If you want this, then if this happens, do that. It's code, it's logic, it's the same idea. You got to think, you got to understand what's going on, but you don't have to know the syntax. What happens in this geometry node is it's running Python code. Like literally behind the scenes. And actually, I don't know if I can get this up, but that would be a cool, man, for both you guys. Like that'd be a fun like thread on Twitter or YouTube video or something of like, here, this guy was doing 7 hours of video. We tried to summarize it. Here's like 3 tools we tried. This is the best result. Yeah, for either of you guys, if anyone figures this out, like we'll post it on Twitter and Instagram and all sorts of places. It'd be cool to do it. And I'm not going to be, jumping anytime soon. So anyway, this is just running Python code. So like it's just literally running Python code in this container, and these are the variables. So we're taking a code. The code is generating a spiral. And I think you can even get like console on this. I swear to God, you can actually see the console of it like running. It's wild. You probably need to do something to actually see it as it goes. But trust me, it's just running Python code. Okay, so we're going to take the spiral, we're going to transform it, and we're just going to rotate it. So look at that. I mean, literally 180. So now we're rotating on this spiral by 180 on the Z. And then we're bringing it back into and joining it together and outputting. And there we go. We've got a double helix. And then the cool thing is if we want to change this, so we say, okay, like we actually want the height to be more, we can do that. Super, super easy. Okay, so let me just get a camera. I'm going to go back and do my kind of standard, which is Instagram crop. We'll go to kind of a wider angle on this to be able to get this in. And what we'll do is we'll set our camera right along the axis, bring it down like this, and we'll bring it, I like to use the Y, because I always think of Y as like forward and back a little bit more. I always think of Z up, Y forward, back, X as the side. I don't know why. And then if we just do this rotation, this should be default, by the way. I think it should be like the default view. Why is that not working? 270? It's kind of annoying. But there we go. Something like that. So we've got our structure. Okay, so now this part I was thinking about, and I'm not sure if this is going to work the way I want it to do, but there's a thing called sample curve. And if you take the curve and you bring it in, it should be able to find certain values. And what I think I want is, I want the vector. Huh, interesting. Interesting. And I have like the raw videos too, all of them saved. So I can always upload like a 3 hour somewhere. I'm sure there's a video that's less than 3 hours from these streams on my channel that you can try. But yeah, could definitely cut them. Okay, this I got to try to remember because we want to sample the curve. And I feel like there's some value. Yeah, cool, for sure. What do we want to do here? Points. Mesh to points. Maybe points of curve, I think. Curve to points. I think it's curved points. Let me just see what happens here. Okay. Interesting. So this generates a bunch of points on the curve, but it's not what I want. I want, let me think. Let me just see. Let me see if I can get something fun from my good friend ChatGPT. Alright, now my ChatGPT is just broken. It's like it's logged me out or something. I swear to God. So it's logged in. It's gone back. No. Where's my history? Oh, here it is. Well, that's bad UX. Look at that. It's so stupid. Yeah, so, I would like I have a spiral mesh in geometry nodes and a second created by using transform geometry. How can I create a bridge between the two spirals at a certain height increment to mimic? See how good this thing is with geometry nodes. Probably could generate it with freaking Python code. That'd be interesting. Let's see how this does. Interesting. Okay, this is what I was thinking. This second option it gave me seems a little better. Interesting. Just trying some random stuff. I should show it, but it's hard to have both these screens on. What I'm doing is hold on. Why can't I take a screenshot? I'm just testing to see how well. Oh, $19, hey, just to check it out. I have access to also check out, like, if there's anything that is based on, because, okay, ChatGPT just released some brand new, like, updates that people are building a lot of cool stuff on. So if you see anything with GPT or OpenAI that could use it as the backbone, I have an API, I have like a dev account, and I pay for it, so we could try something in there. Be kind of fun. I wish I had more time. I should have had a break in the middle of this for a week. I could have done a bunch of admin stuff. Okay, I just got some real numbers from ChatGPT on the DNA. So it's one rotation for every 3.4 meters at a 1 meter radius. That's what it's telling me at least. So if I want to do like more, I can do 4 rotations, and I can do 3.4 times 4, and I can do 4 and 4. So this should be, oh, that doesn't seem right. No, radius, height. Oh. No, say 3.4. Oh, there we go. So yeah, the radius stays the same. I don't know why I did that. So radius stays the same. So it's 13.6 meters, which is 3.4 times 4, and then it's 4 rotations. So this is the like the actual correct deal for the DNA, allegedly. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, see what you come up with. And if you want me to try that other one, I will. I just can't do it right now. Okay. Got it. think I have that part. And then oh, no kidding, eh? Cool. Yeah, keep me posted. And if for some reason I'm not online when you come back, just hit me up in Discord or send me a message wherever. I'm curious. I'm curious what you get. That would be really interesting. All right. Talk to you soon. Okay, I'm just trying to wrap my head around a few things. Okay. So this part's working in the sense that if you take this, I think you do the same thing up here. And join this. And this. Kill this. My guess. Yeah. Okay. So what we have, I think, yeah, is we have bridges. I don't know if the structure makes sense, but we have bridges, spot points at least for bridges at every 0.34 meters, which is what it mathematically should be. Okay. Align, Euler to vector. This one always screws me up. But let me see. Yeah, I am too. I'm really interested. I mean, I've used a couple on there. You know, they are really good if you're talking. Like, if you imagine like if you're gaming, it's easy because it can pick up like when you have a kill and when you talk about something interesting. In my streams, like it'd be very hard to necessarily pick out what's interesting from a like visual standpoint, but maybe it could pick out like certain language I use when I kind of discover something. And you could definitely probably get some good highlights. I don't know how well it would cut together a full video, but even if it was able to say predict with like 90% accuracy, here's like 20 minutes of the best footage. Now you have 20 minutes of video to edit, which is doable, right? So yeah, it's definitely a cool, if he doesn't figure it out December, that's what I'll work on. So that when I do this again, I'll have a better system. So I could just like film, upload, let it process. Plus, I'd love to do all this locally. It's another thing. Not locally. Like I'd love to have my own instance of this stuff and like install it on a Google Cloud instance or something and just let it go. But that's another story. I'm going to find a YouTube video because I was watching one the other day that was kind of nice, that was explaining some of this stuff. Where is my history? YouTube has gone to hell. Good question, Ian. So yeah, like I was really enjoying like before NFT stuff started. I was actually doing started a YouTube series, and I was doing like reviews of products and some stuff with like my van, and I was really enjoyed it. And I kind of had an ambition to do more stuff related to like tools and software. And then the NFT stuff happened. And I dove kind of pretty far into that, obviously. Yeah, I do. I think, part of it for me is like really being competent. And it's hard to kind of come up with the right strategy because, like everything else, like if you just wanted to do YouTube, you have to dedicate, say a year to create content until you would probably get traction, and actually monetize and that kind of thing. So it's just, at some point I'll do it. It's just like I think I have to figure out how to balance between, where the income streams are. One of the things I think I'm going to start doing, we'll see. Like the NFT stuff is crazy because like this project was really successful, but you can't bank on it, and I never know. I went for a long time without selling anything, so I think I want to start doing some more commercial 3D animation stuff, like product stuff, like just like that last video I dropped, like stuff like that. Because I think it's super high value for brands to have that, and I can see the future of that being, a really good skill to have. And the content always looks good on Instagram and Shorts and all that. So I might start there and then start doing tutorial videos on how I do it. And actually, to come to think of it, one of the things I kind of wanted to figure out part of this project is I want to do product animations, but integrate them into real world locations, because that was a big thing in the influencer side. Is like some brand would pay you to go hike to an iconic place and then take a photo because it would be, obviously beautiful place to do a little product shot. But if you could recreate those and then place a product in it, it's pretty high value work. So yeah, the short answer is yes, I will at some point. I'd love to just maybe try some because like I think I can explain things really well especially if I know exactly, like if I'm not figuring it out on the fly. So yeah. And I have a lot of thoughts too on like like online content, especially educational content. And I don't know the answer to it, but I know from my own experience that I always struggle with like sometimes you just want the steps. Yeah, I would love to do that. That'd be fun. Yeah, like I always struggle between like sometimes you want the steps and sometimes you want the why. And it's always like a tough balance because you don't know your audience and like like I'm watching a video right now. It's 35 minutes and this guy's helping, he's building this out and he's doing it a slightly different way. But he's not explaining, like somehow it's a 35-minute video, but he's not explaining why. And it's kind of like, do I want to just follow your tutorial blindly without knowing the reason why this is happening the way it is? And I followed some bad tutorials where you get these really stupid habits, that you don't, like you really don't want to have. So anyway, all that being said, I'm trying to understand what he's doing at this point. Sample curve. Like I have this part working, right? So it's like, okay, I have. Like I have the spots. I just got to figure out how to put, like how to bridge those two. I have. One of the things that's fun about ChatGPT is if you ask it the same question like over again, it just can give you totally different answers, which I find really interesting. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Yeah, no problem. Okay, so this is fun so far. I'm going to get rid of this one. It's just, it's going to drive me nuts. I'll keep it going down here. So this setup makes sense to me. Just to kind of show you. I don't know what curve index is. But yeah, so what's neat about this is we just have, a spiral and then another spiral that we've offset by 180. So that's these two things, right? And then we're sampling it. So by pulling in the geometry, we're able to pull out, I guess, this basic stuff, right, which I have to sort of understand this a little bit better, but we're just picking out the position. And the factor is usually I think set to 0 by default. So what I've done is I basically did a curve and had the start and the end set to the position of both curves, which basically connects it. And then what's neat is that if you connect a single value to the factor for both, so this factor and this factor, you can bring it up and see how it sort of spirals up, which is kind of cool. So it spirals up and spirals down, which is a really neat effect. Just in general, by the way. Be a cool little animation. But now I just have to kind of figure out how to get multiple of these, right? So this one's at the bottom. I know that there needs to be one of these every 0.34 meters. I think there needs to be 20 total. I have that calculated somewhere. So I'm just trying to figure that out. So just give me a second. Oh, geez. That's scary. Yeah, did you see that? Oh, from the skybox. You know the other thing too, Ian, on that? Yeah, the skybox thing was, yeah, it was a good catch. That's this here. So if you're in a render view, which I'm probably in Eevee, I think. No, I'm in cycles. Okay, so if you're in here, and there's nothing in here to really render, but if you're in a rendered view and you turn off scene world, then it uses this lighting versus whatever's in your actual shader world, which is just a gray background. You can change this to anything. Is one of the weirdest things of Blender when I first could not wrap my head around that. I should do a tutorial on that basic idea of like render preview versus this. The other thing I caught that I didn't realize yesterday until later is that, I had this like big 360 backdrop. And what was actually happening, the reason why the material looks so weird on that whole product, which if I'd done it again, I would totally change it. The top was this perfect metal. Like it was it looked like titanium. It was perfect. But then the sides were like blue and like weird, and I couldn't figure it out. And it was because the light was reflecting off all of the edges of that backdrop and it was making the light really bad. Which if I'd done it again, I would have got rid of that and just lit it, in a vacuum, right? Like it's one of the things. Like if you imagine you do a product shoot and you put this like bubbly stuff in a crazy studio with blue backdrop and you light it from everywhere, it's gonna look blue. It's just like, duh, but when you're doing it, you don't think about that. Anyway. I'm watching this guy's tutorial and I don't like it. This is not a good way to do it, but yeah, it is. Yeah, that's true too. The bounces. Yeah. Which is like, it's tricky though, because if if say you set it to 4 bounces, it's like, okay, well, it's still going to bounce off if you want the light to bounce off of the object. So you want like reflections, like when it hits the metal and goes back up on the metal above it, you want that there. So you can't really like just set it. It won't change the appearance. It's just you have to understand what's happening, right? So if you want to simulate real light, you can't have a giant backdrop that all that light's getting bounced back, right? You just can't. So you either have to just like, you can hide that. It's easy. You can just tell that backdrop, to be affected by the light, but don't reflect. You can do that. It's not, there's things you can do to fix it. It's just once I already set it all up, I couldn't go back. And I was just like, well, that's what it is. But something interesting to think about. There's also light groups now in Blender, in this Blender 4.0. So you can say like which objects are affected by what light. Yeah. Oh yeah, sorry. I don't know. My notifications turned off. Yeah, light groups. Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. It's already in Unreal Engine, I think, and other stuff. It's just I don't know why it's not in Blender. Now it is. I'm probably not going to be too late here. I'm probably going to call it early and get up early and work on this, or do an early stream. Yeah, I don't know. I was supposed to stream every day at noon Pacific time, but it's like, I want to stream when I'm working on it because then I get the video instead of just being recording. It's hard. Like right now, I got up this morning. I got up at 4:30 Eastern Pacific, so I'm kind of like on a early wake up schedule now, which is fine, except I'm a day behind. And if I don't do this one, so today's the 8th, so I should be doing number 7 today, which I'm not even doing. This is 6. So if I don't put this one out, let's say I put this one out tomorrow at noon, I would be 2 days behind. So, and I was thinking this one would be easy, but you know how my brain is. I'm like, oh, I could just like easily make this, but then I'm like, yeah, but I want this to be the exact dimensions of the double helix, and I can't. I got this figured out, but I don't have it figured out how to make them at higher increments without doing like stupid messy nodes, which I don't want to do. But the logic is making sense. Start. Okay. I think my brain is fading. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to call it because this will be the disproportionate amount of time I'm going to spend trying to figure this out for what should be like once we have this, then it should be very easy for us to do the rest. So I'll watch some videos, read the manual on this for a few things, and then I'll just pick this up tomorrow and we'll be able to do it. They're generally speaking, it should be, yeah. Like this is the connector, that we can do, which is easy. And then we can do the same, we can do the same thing with this. Like just to just to give you an idea, like it's, yeah, for sure. I appreciate that. That'd be cool. Like I say, I got to get through this, but yeah, we'll chat. But yeah, like this is, kind of like the nice thing about this, and you can change this for each, but like you can control, right? Like you control the thickness across the whole thing, right? So there's our thickness right there, the resolution of it, and then we can make a separate one if we want the middle. Like it's all here. It's just I just want there to be the proper number of these things all the way up, and I can't quite figure that out. So I'll figure that out, come back, and then from here we can do all sorts of fun stuff. Like we can take this mesh and we can put points on it. We can put numbers. We can do all sorts of cool things from here. So yeah, I'll save this and we'll close it, and I'll be back at it early tomorrow morning. Well, I might not stream right away, but I'll be streaming tomorrow morning for sure. Okay, guys, have a good night.